Hi, JamesAnimalHarrison. It's time for Thursday Thoughts, and today we're going to talk about one of my favorite drummers ever, and I'm sure he's a favorite of a lot of people. It's David Garibaldi, Mr. Funk Drumming. And when I was a youngster, I had heard a couple of the popular Tower of Power tunes, like Down to the Nightclub and What Is Hit and whatnot. And a lot of it came from friends in high school, horn players mostly, that were really into the band, and also the live, I believe it's called Live in Living Color album. Had this big trumpet intro on You're Still a Young Man with the high notes and whatnot. But to me, as I started listening to it, I was fascinated by this motion of drumming that David Garibaldi had. There was a tremendous amount of space in between the accents, which were very syncopated and whatnot. It wasn't just a typical 2 and 4. So it really threw me for a loop and made me want to investigate that drumming a little bit more. But also, there was this constant flow of ghost notes and stuff underneath that kept it moving, but never sounded like overly busy or anything. It was just a perfect blend of again, that motion of ghost notes, but the syncopated beats and whatnot. Very tight sound, and again, just something that always seemed to take a left turn when you think you knew what was going to happen. So when I was, I can't remember, late 70s maybe. It could have been early 80s when I'm drawing a blank right now about when Modern Drummer magazine came out. And I started reading these columns by David Garibaldi, and was just fascinated by the things he wrote. And I was like, wow, this guy's got it together. Eventually, I saw him in clinic at the Percussive Art Society a couple different times over the years. And then back in I think it was the 2000s, mid-2000s probably, I was the president of the Percussive Art Society for Idaho, and I created the Day of Percussion there. And I did the Day of Percussion for maybe 10 years, maybe 11. I was president for about 12 years, it seems like. But one of the ones I had David Garibaldi as a lead artist, and I was just thrilled that he said yes to doing it. He was great to work with, and we got a kid in there to his liking and satisfaction, and from a local music store that they ended up selling afterwards. And anyway, all the Sabian stuff, and he came in and did a great clinic. He actually holds the record for the largest crowd at the Day of Percussion for Idaho. And he demonstrated several grooves, and he actually had a handout that he had transcribed some things. Now, the reason I'm bringing this up is a lot of people today don't understand that with the internet and YouTube, you have access to people demonstrating who have broken it down for you. You have printed out transcriptions you can buy. There's even transcriptions of David Garibaldi explaining this stuff online or in videos that he put out. But back in the 70s and the 80s, it wasn't that way. You would put on the record or the tape and drop the needle, play, lift it up, go back, drop it again, or press start and stop and rewind over and over again, sometimes just to even figure out a single measure. And if it was an album, which was 33 speed, a lot of you won't understand that, you could turn the speed on the record player down to 16 and it would play like at half speed, and you could kind of try to hear some of the licks that David Garibaldi was playing. Anyway, he's been a lifelong inspiration to me, not claiming that I can drum anything like him. I have played in some bands where we've learned some of that material, and once I saw him explain it and have the printout, and realized that I was copying what I was hearing, but I obviously wasn't hearing everything. And I certainly didn't know what his sticking was and whatnot, and whether he did two-handed patterns back and forth or what, because you didn't see any of that. So when I realized like Soul Vaccination is one of my favorite tunes, that he actually was doing a Swiss Army triplet in there, a rudiment, I had no idea. I was just playing the basics of the pattern. So over time, I've kind of relearned a lot of the material. Some of it I just would play with the band and just wing it because I felt like it was semi-improvisational versus note for note copying of things. But it's never bad to learn that stuff. And again, you know, David Garibaldi is obviously one of the top performers and top drummers, but he's also one of the top educators. He's put out books, the book Future Sounds. I've used it in lessons. I've taught out of it. It can be quite a brain tease to you if you're not disciplined, because it's a permutation style thing, but it can increase your vocabulary, you know, so much. And he's got a video that he did, I think, called Talking Drums. And there's a couple more, and all of a sudden I'm drawing a blank on them, but I've got them. And some of them have direct transcriptions of some of those tunes. And again, I know he did a video for, I think at the time it was DCI Music. It was actually on videotape. I have that, and I think they've since put it out on DVD, and now most of that stuff is direct digital downloads. And he did a couple of different ones, and I have all that stuff. And again, just a tremendous drummer. And with Rocco on bass doing that muted 16th notes, it just created an incredible feel. It's like a locomotive that was, and then, you know, they would pop these accents and stuff, and it just create tremendous grooves. So the Sunday story today, or excuse me, the Thursday thoughts for today, is about one of the best drummers out there, and that's David Garibaldi. And again, it was a treat to bring him in for the Day of Percussion, and I still try to catch things he puts out on Facebook and whatnot. I saw Tower Power live twice. Unfortunately, he was not the drummer either time, because there was a point in time where he left. The drummers that filled in did a great job. I think it was Russ McKinnon, and I think it was Herman Matthews was his name. And I got to go backstage and talk with Herman quite a bit when he did it. And when he played Soul Vaccination, he was doing a pattern where he was doing two hands. But David Garibaldi didn't do that. But it still had a great groove to it, but don't get me wrong. But, you know, I think that the puzzle, when you put that together, I think David Garibaldi is the missing piece of that puzzle for Tower of Power, and I'm glad he's back in there. So, anyway, Thursday Thoughts, fantastic drummer, David Garibaldi.